Yo, what's up fam? How's everyone doing around the world? And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the family. We're honored to have you with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's talk about the Red Sea. This ain't just some body of water, it's the lifeblood of the world, where 40% of the world's oil flows through, carrying trillions of dollars from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. It passes through the Strait of Hormuz, a dangerous choke point where a single spark could set off the global economy. And guess what? That spark has already lit up, burning like a fire of vengeance. At the start of 2025, the Houthi forces, desert warriors from Yemen backed by Iran, crossed the line. They had the audacity to attack the USS Harry S. Truman, a massive U.S. Navy aircraft carrier. This ship's a steel fortress, symbolizing the power of the U.S. with over 5,000 sailors, fighter jets, and billions of dollars invested in it. It was patrolling the Red Sea, making sure maritime freedom stays intact. But the Houthis didn't care. From Yemen's shores, white smoke rose from their hidden missile launch pads as missiles and drones flew toward the Truman like daggers aimed at the heart of America. They even bragged about shooting down an American MQ-9 Reaper drone with their own missiles in Marib province. It was just another provocation in the midst of a raging war.
And what's America doing? President Trump isn't chilling. Standing at the mic, his voice booms like thunder. The day of retribution has arrived. The Houthis and Iran are going to feel the full wrath of America.
A few hours later, Trump orders the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier to deploy from the Pacific to the Middle East, joining the Truman in what's shaping up to be an unprecedented strike formation.
On Twitter, he said, "We've been crushing the Houthis day after day. The real pain is just getting started for them and their sponsors in Tehran."
From the White House to the Pentagon, the mood is tense.
B-2 Spirit bombers, making up 30% of America's stealth fleet, are ready to launch from Diego Garcia Bay in the Indian Ocean, just a button press away from Iran.
But wait, Iran's got its own threats.
Iranian generals are growling, "We'll strike Diego Garcia before the U.S. can move. The Strait of Hormuz will be closed if they touch us."
That threat? It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. The Strait of Hormuz, where 40% of the world's oil passes through, is now a ticking time bomb. On one side, you've got the Houthis with their cheap drones and unshakable determination. On the other side, there's the U.S. with overwhelming power and a thirst for revenge. On January 6, 2025, as the sun set over the Red Sea, the mood aboard the USS Harry S. Truman shifted fast. Alarms blared, and the Spy 1D radar lit up with tiny blinking dots speeding toward them.
"Confirmed threat,"
an officer shouted, his voice shaky. Sailors rushed to their battle stations, their boots thudding on the deck, hearts pounding. The Houthis launched their boldest attack yet, aimed right at the heart of the U.S. Navy. The C-802 anti-ship cruise missile, known as the Wave Glider, flies at nearly 620 miles per hour, just above the ocean's surface, like a ghost. Its 365-pound warhead is enough to take out a frigate or rattle the Truman's deck if it hits. Right behind it, the Shahed 136 suicide drones, slow but deadly, traveling at 115 miles per hour with 110 pounds of explosives each, follow closely. The Houthis are aiming for the Truman's E-2 Hawkeye, the eyes in the sky, a key surveillance aircraft. If they take it out, the Truman will be blind in battle, a devastating blow. From the deserts of Yemen, the white smoke rises and the engines roar. The world holds its breath. But America's not an easy target.
C-802 missile bearing 270 degrees.
On the USS Gravely, an escort destroyer for the Truman, the Aegis system kicks into emergency mode. In an instant, an F-18 Super Hornet blasts off from the Truman, roaring through the sky towards the swarm of drones. In midair, 10 Shahed 136 drones explode in a fiery burst of debris. And that's just the start. This is gonna get wild.
Houthis in panic. US unleashes full power on Houthis after carrier attack. Yo, it's raining missiles like fiery rain onto the sea.
At the same time, an SM-2 missile was launched from the USS Gravely, speeding at Mach 3.5, leaving a white smoke trail behind it. Boom! A massive explosion. The C-802 missile got obliterated, and the waves crashed hard. Was that another missile? Nah, it just harmlessly splashed down into the water, dozens of miles away from the Truman.
"Nothing can touch us,"
the captain of the Gravely yelled, his voice full of pride. But the Houthis weren't done boasting. They claimed they took down an MQ-9 Reaper drone over Marib province, the heart of Yemen's oil industry.
"We used our own made missiles to shoot it down."
They tweeted, posting a video of black smoke rising from the wreckage. The Pentagon just laughed it off.
The Houthis have once again failed. They missed the Truman by hundreds of miles 3 weeks ago, and now they're bragging about some burning debris. Their effectiveness is definitely questionable.
Still, losing an MQ-9 stings for the U.S. It's a reminder that even though the Houthis are weak, they can still land a painful blow. This attack was a reckless challenge. The Houthis know they can't sink the Truman, but just landing one successful hit would give them bragging rights with Iran and the anti-American crowd. From the deck of the Truman, sailors kept their eyes fixed on Yemen. The radar kept screaming through the night, signaling the danger wasn't over. The Houthis lit the fuse, and now they're about to face the wrath of the giant they provoked. On the night of January 6, 2025, as the smoke from the Houthi attack faded over the sea, the USS Harry S. Truman stood tall like a steel mountain. Not a scratch, not a moment of hesitation. But this ship isn't just a ship. It's a symbol of American power, and it wasn't standing alone anymore. From the Pacific, the USS Carl Vinson, another floating fortress, was slicing through the waves, heading toward the Middle East, carrying dozens of F-35 fighter jets and a promise of destruction. On the Truman, sailors looked out at the horizon, knowing the giant had woken up and was baring its fangs. The U.S. power isn't just about numbers. Alongside the Truman and Vinson, the escort fleet roars with the USS Gettysburg, USS Stout, USS Jason Dunham, and USS Sullivan, steel wolves with radar sharper than an eagle's eye and missiles ready to launch. Far out in the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is glowing in the night, and 6 B-2 Spirit bombers, the stealth killers, stand silent. Each bomber's carrying tons of bombs, enough to turn any target into ash. This represents 30% of the US B-2 fleet, a sword hanging over Iran and the Houthis, just waiting for the word to strike. Tech is at the heart of this war machine. On the USS Gravely, the Aegis system, the steel brain, scans the skies for hundreds of miles, locking onto targets in an instant. The Tomahawk missile, with a range of 930 miles, glides like a ghost, carrying a 1,100-pound warhead, ready to tear apart any Houthi base. From the Truman, F-18 Super Hornets take off, armed with JDAM bombs, the steel fists that can penetrate deep into the ground and turn bunkers into fiery graves. A Pentagon official said in a closed-door meeting, "The Houthis think they can play with cheap drones? They're about to see the real nightmare when the sky comes crashing down." On Twitter, President Trump didn't hold back his anger. "The Houthis have been crushed day after day," he wrote, typing every word like bullets. "But this is just the beginning. The real pain hasn't come yet for them and their sponsors in Iran. Stop firing at American ships or we will wipe you out." That wasn't a joke. In the last 2 weeks, the U.S. has bombed the Houthis relentlessly. Tomahawk missiles roaring from the sea, F-18s dropping bombs from the sky, turning weapons depots and command centers into piles of rubble. An F-18 pilot said over the radio, "I saw their munitions depot explode like fireworks. Nothing left but smoke and sand." This is America's shield and sword, an impenetrable defense and relentless offense. The Houthis might launch a Shahad 136 drone worth $20,000, but the U.S. responds with million-dollar missiles and bombs. The difference is crystal clear. From Garcia, a B-2 can fly to Tehran in just a few hours, dropping GBU-57 bombs, bunker busters that can penetrate 60 meters of earth and rock, obliterating Iran's nuclear facilities. In the Red Sea, the Truman and Vinson stand like 2 steel dragons, ready to unleash fire. The Houthis provoke the giant, and now they're about to witness its true power. The Houthis are just pawns in this game. Iran uses them to stir chaos, wear down the U.S., and keep the Red Sea heated without spilling their own blood. But they're pushing themselves into a dangerous corner. From Diego Garcia, B-2 bombers could turn Tehran to ash in no time. In the Red Sea, the Truman and Vinson are locked and loaded, ready to unleash hell. Russia's sitting on the sidelines, the EU's tightening the noose, and Iran's growling in the shadows. The Houthis lit the match, but Iran's the one holding the matchbox, and now that fire's spreading with no idea where it'll stop. Sure, the Shahad 136B could reach Diego Garcia, but they'd be shot down like flies before they even get close. Does Iran forget the lesson of Pearl Harbor? Iranian General Amir Ali Hajizadeh stood in front of the mic, his voice cold as steel. If the U.S. dares to attack, Diego Garcia will turn to ash. The Strait of Hormuz will be closed. Not a single drop of oil will flow through it. This narrow waterway between Iran and Oman is the lifeline for 40% of the world's oil. With just a few missiles and some sunken ships, the global economy would collapse. Iran knows this, and they're using that threat like a sword at America's throat. On Twitter, the Houthis laughed it off. You can't stop us. But behind that bravado, Iran's pulling the strings, giving the Houthis missiles like the Shahad 136B drone, slow as a turtle and easy to shoot down, but capable of reaching Diego Garcia. Meanwhile, the world's not just standing around. From the Indian Ocean, Russian warships like the RFS Rescuer and RFS Older quietly watch, hundreds of miles from Diego Garcia. Moscow's speaking up through Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, saying a U.S. attack on Iran would be a disaster. Stop before it's too late. But does Russia really want to get involved? Putin thought he could take Kiev in 3 days, so maybe he's crazy enough to take on the U.S. On the other side, the EU isn't sitting still. The Italian destroyer Federico Martino, the Greek ship HS Hydra, and the French naval group FS Charles de Gaulle and FS Forbin are heading into the Gulf of Aden. They're standing alongside the US, making sure freedom of navigation stays intact. A French admiral's cold gaze is fixed on Yemen. Iran's not just talking threats either. US intel shows Iran is speeding up its nuclear program. They've got 275 kilograms of enriched uranium, enough to build a bomb if they want to. Death to America, death to Israel, the Ayatollah's slogan echoes in Tehran's streets. It's no longer just a chant, but a deadly vow. They're threatening Diego Garcia, where 6 B-2 bombers are waiting for orders. But the US isn't scared. Iran pulls the strings, but the US strikes back with fury. The US Navy's had enough. From underground arsenals beneath the Zagros Mountains, Iran's been quietly funneling tech and cash to the Houthis, turning the Red Sea into a battleground for proxy wars. But now, Iran's not hiding anymore, and their threats are like pouring oil onto a raging fire. On January 7, 2025, as debris from the Houthi drone floats on the waves, a larger shadow starts to form. Not from the deserts of Yemen, but from Tehran. The Houthis aren't alone in this. Each C-802 missile, each Shahad 136 drone bears the mark of Iran, the puppeteer in the shadows, turning desert warriors into spears aimed at the heart of America. Sure, the Shahad 136B could reach Diego Garcia, but they'd be shot down like flies before they even get close. Does Iran forget the lesson of Pearl Harbor? You can't stop us. On January 8, 2025, at 2 a.m., the Houthis found out what happens when you mess with the American giant. The dark desert sky suddenly lit up like doomsday as the U.S. Navy launched a counterattack, a relentless show of destruction that turned Revenge Day into a nightmare for the enemy. From the USS Harry S. Truman, alarm sirens blared, and red lights flashed on the deck. Sailors shouted over the loudspeakers, "Prepare! F-18s, Tomahawks ready!" This wasn't just a warning strike, it was a death sentence for the Houthis. Everything started from above. American satellites scanned Yemen like all-seeing eyes, detecting every weapons cache hidden under the desert. The MQ-9 Reaper, the sibling of the one the Houthis shot down, circled overhead, its camera zooming in on a launch pad and the shadow of a person running for cover. The RC-135 rivet joint, with its electronic ears, picked up Houthi signals, but they were too late. At 2:05 a.m., the USS Gravely and USS Stout opened fire. 12 Tomahawk missiles launched from their silos, roaring away at 550 mph, gliding close to the mountains like deadly ghosts. From the Truman, F-18 Super Hornets launched, engines roaring, carrying JDAM bombs, steel fists weighing over a ton, ready to drill deep into the earth. At 2:38 a.m., the Tomahawk struck first. Each missile carried 1,100 pounds of explosives, tearing through a Houthi bunker like a knife through paper. Black smoke billowed up and debris flew in every direction. The sound of the explosion echoed across the desert. Then the F-18s swooped in, dropping JDAM bombs through the thick smoke. Boom! A secondary explosion shook the sky. The Houthi munitions depot detonated, turning dozens of C-802 missiles and Shahad 136 drones into a dazzling display of fireworks against the dark night. From the F-18 cockpit, the pilot shouted over the radio target obliterated. Just smoke and ash left. On the deck of the Truman, sailors looked out toward the distance, the flickering light in the horizon resembling a flame of vengeance. Thanks so much for watching the video. Drop us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. At X News, we're committed to bringing you real, unbiased news. See you in the next